Greetings to all. It's another gun kayaking masterpiece for you, this time a new route around Land's End off Cornwall and around Longships Lighthouse. And with me on this paddle, and here in the studio today, is Duncan. You may know Duncan because he popped around the Isle of Wight with us a couple of years ago. If you haven't seen that video, clearly you should have.
Hi everybody, another great paddle with Darren, West Country this time, out of one of my favourite beaches at Sennen Cove.
So we're coming out of Sennen Cove and heading out into the big wide Atlantic. What are your thoughts here? You've got a new paddle I see as well.
Yeah, well I was borrowing one of your paddles and I must admit it felt a bit like a toothpick as we were coming out there, because I'm used to something with a bit of a bigger area to the paddle. I was feeling a little bit tender there for a minute, but I got used to it fairly quickly, so it was alright.
Fantastic, it was nice. New route, new paddle, feel uncomfortable. Back over our shoulders, that is the last part remaining of the Mulheim Wreck, right where she ran aground in 2003.
And off we go out towards Longships, which was Darren's idea. I was a little bit nervous about this one, but I think it was the right call in the end. It was a perfect day. I don't think you get it much smoother out there.
No, they're quite big swells, probably about a metre or so of swell, but there wasn't much chop and the wind was quite light.
Yeah, no, it was a perfect day for it, and it was great to get round the lighthouse and have a look around.
It's always good with a nice new paddle you're not comfortable with too.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. No, I think I'd pretty much calmed down a bit by then.
And I do remember I was planning to use my drone here. I had the drone on board all charged and ready, but there was nowhere I could land. Looking at the swells breaking on the rocks, it didn't look very inviting at all.
Yeah, no, a bit too optimistic that one maybe, but we had a bit of a go later on, didn't we? We didn't quite manage that one either. But...
Yeah, we did, we'll get to that. So I was trying to catch a little swell there. It felt appetising but didn't really happen. Nice thought.
We were keeping our eyes open for a bit of sea life and things around the area as well, but I don't think we saw any seals out there, did we?
Jumping in with some navigation tips there, sir.
Yeah, it was all pretty obvious that day, wasn't it? The visibility was pretty fantastic. Pilotage was fairly simple. You could see where you were going, so finding something to aim at. Land's End building straight ahead there.
Indeed, and Mulheim was off to our left at this point, which would be north. And what a cracking way to see this view, because you'd miss all the queues and the car parking issues.
And then picking up basically all the bays, coves and beaches on our way.
Exactly. The trip was never about speed records, it was all about looking and appreciating everything along the way. And whenever you see an arch, there's always one thing you've got to do, isn't there?
It's a pretty good picture.
Yeah, you've got to go through, test it.
Yeah, looking happy with that. As long as the rock stays out there for long enough, it's all good, isn't it? Yep, through safely. I must admit the granite on this bit of coast is just pretty spectacular. It's amazing bits of rock.
We're still seeing some of the swells here, but once we got round the next corners we lost the worst of the swell, so it's the most dramatic bit here, I guess, straight in from the Atlantic. So around the corner now into another little bay. Can you remember what this one's called?
That's Porthcurno, I think, Darren.
Splendid. And you'll see on the slipway there, that's the same yellow kayak that was at the starting point with us at Sennen. So we caught up with him. That was the end of the trip for him, but it was time for muesli bar and an apple for us. And this guy, he'd snapped his paddle. Nifty.
Yeah. It looked like a pretty nice place for some sunbathing, doesn't it? And so did this. This is Porthchapel, which is the next beach on the way round.
Yeah, this one's gorgeous. The clear water's staggering. And this guy, with his balancing problems, also worth a look.
That's leaving Porthchapel behind us and coming round that headland. This is the Minnock Theatre, which is kind of a world famous outdoor theatre right on the cliffs there, which is a pretty amazing spot.
What's the history of that?
It's a woman locally, I can't remember her name, but she basically decided to build the place and put it all together, and it's just got bigger and bigger and become, as I say, world famous. People come from far and wide to go to plays and productions there.
Very nice.
Yeah, it's cool. A bit more sunbathing.
Yeah, not so many crowds until we turned up.
That's Porthcurno in the background, and the white square there is where the cables leave the UK and go across the Atlantic to America.
Ah, interesting. Bit of wiretapping.
Yeah, it's all cable and wireless stuff, yeah.
This was pulling in for a little lunch stop.
Yeah, this is Penlee, which is another amazing beach along here, which is only around at low tide. You can't get there at high tide, it completely washes out. We obviously timed this pretty nicely, so perfect place for lunch.
Fantastic. There seems to be a lot of people that weren't quite wearing very much. My innocence was a bit in tatters by the end of it.
Yeah, well, it is a bit of a nudist beach as well, but yeah, no, there's a bit of both there. It's not too bad in the summer.
Quick sandwich while ogling a couple of boats. So that was it, lunch over all in one flash, and didn't even film it.
Disaster. I had a swim as well.
I didn't film that either.
The water is just so special there. You can't not get in it. So anyway, I had a dip. Darren didn't.
No, I didn't. It was still pretty chilly, and I didn't clean the camera either. It was really helpful.
Yeah, it's glorious, glorious. So I said to Darren, I think when we were there, I've been coming to that beach for about 30 years now, and it's the first time I've actually paddled to it or come to it by boat. I've always come down the cliffs, so that was quite special to turn up by sea, which was nice.
Yeah, it's certainly like turning up in paradise.
Yeah, no, that's good.
And what's this one?
I think that's Penberth in the back there. That's a small little fishing cove there. There's only a few houses there.
Jolly nice. So a little David Attenborough moment here. This was a jellyfish. Do you know his name?
Can't remember it.
Bugger. We did find the lighthouse though.
Yeah, that's Tatterdee Lighthouse.
At least that's got a name.
Looks like it's been nicely freshly painted for us, doesn't it?
Yeah, shame I didn't clean the camera again though.
Okay, so this is Lamorna Cove that we're just paddling around in. A few more people swimming.
Is that famous for much?
A lot of divers go out at Lamorna. It's quite popular with that sort of thing. There's a good slipway there for getting dive boats in and things. The sea wall a few years ago took a bit of a beating. The end of it actually got knocked off there.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
But good put-ins though for kayaks.
Yeah, not too bad.
So next up is Mousehole, or Mousehole to the uninitiated.
Yeah, definitely not Mousehole. This is going through the gap and into the harbour.
I was amazed actually, I'd never been here before, and it opens into the staggering little world with paddlers, you've got swimmers in there, there's even a little sailing club going on. It's completely invisible from the outside world, completely protected in there.
Yeah, so you can see there's kind of like slots, wooden slots in the wall there. During the winter they shut the whole thing completely down. They put boards in there and shut it off completely to protect the harbour.
Very nice. Yeah, smashing little place. I'll definitely be back for a pasty. Another important event here was the battery died on my camera.
Disaster.
It was a disaster. That was shortly followed by the battery dying on your camera.
Even worse. So we kind of resorted to my handheld camera, which you can see there's a bit shakier than the normal footage.
Yeah, trying to work a telephoto lens on a kayak, it's apparently not simple. But we did find some seals, as you noticed.
So the island off of Mousehole has got a bit of a colony of seals on it. You're not allowed to get too close to it, so we didn't, but we managed to get a bit of a footage of them as well.
Another corner, another view. Tell us about this.
So this is the old Penlee Lifeboat station, which used to house the Solomon Brown lifeboat, which was lost in, I think, 1981.
I do remember that story. I'll stick a link in the description because it's a whole tale on its own. And then of course we got the drone out. We finally got to play with it because it was a calming beach to sit on. So.
And all the other cameras had run out, mate.
And all the other cameras had run out.
Yeah, so this is Newlyn. This is Newlyn Harbor, fishing village, and that was the end of our trip.
Exactly. So that's the slipway dead ahead that we eventually get to. Quick show off. Duncan flying by at about 200 miles an hour or something.
Not exactly. So that's coming into Newlyn Harbor. That's on the end of the pier there near the lighthouse is where tide datum is taken. So all of the tide heights are measured just up in a hut, just up by the lighthouse. Hey. We timed this perfectly on the tide.
Absolutely, not gooey at all. But we did get picked up. You can see the car come to meet us again, which was fortunate. And then finally, little look at the GPS track. One zoomed in and one far out. There we have it. That was 29 k's or so and about 5 hours on the move. And we did this trip back in August of 22, so we've had the footage lying around for a wee while. Finally got round to editing it. Stay with us, we've got loads more coming. I will be off to Colombia and Brazil, aiming to get some paddles in, and I look forward to showing you what I find out there. See you soon.